Welcome, it is Mitch. I'm on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button as we try to build this bad boy up. I am surprised by, let's just put the picks aside, and Green Bay in the third round took Savion Williams. We call him a wide receiver from TCU. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. So the two picks for Green Bay, one in round 2, one in round 3, are Anthony Belton, the offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. I posted a video talking about him, the pick, the fit, all that stuff earlier tonight. And now we have, or depending on when you're watching this, earlier, so you can go back and watch that one if you haven't already. Now we get Savion Williams from TCU, the Horned Frogs. And put the picks aside, one surprise for me tonight, Green Bay didn't trade up, didn't trade back. I truly thought, just with what we've seen from Goody throughout the years, I thought day 2, knowing that Green Bay only has 8 total picks, Goody likes to hang out in the double-digit range. And I'll be curious to see his press conference after day 2 concludes. I'm recording this right now while round 3 is still going on. I'll be very, very curious to hear what Goody says about the options they had on the table. He's not going to get into specifics, but did they have teams hit them up about trading, Green Bay potentially trading back so someone else could move up in round 2 before they drafted Anthony Belton? If so, they must really like Belton to stay put. Same thing in round 3. Did they potentially try to move up to get Savion Williams or someone else? Or did they have offers to move back, but they thought, we got to stay here for Savion Williams? The one thing I am surprised about, and it's not good or bad, I thought for sure, I was convinced, just with the history of Goody, knowing the totality of the picks that Green Bay has and that he probably wants to add to it. They only have 8, and the extra one that they have is in round 7. I thought he would wheel and deal his way around day 2 of the draft. So far, though, Green Bay has made 3 picks, and they haven't moved. They haven't budged at all. Round 1, Matthew Golden, wide receiver. Round 2, Anthony Belton, offensive tackle. Maybe could be a guard. Again, go watch the video on Belton if you want to see a breakdown on how he fits into Green Bay's offense up front, really, on the offensive line. And now round 3 with Savion Williams. And you talk about a fascinating prospect. Savion Williams was a pick made for Matt LaFleur. And this is a guy that Matt LaFleur is going to have so much fun trying to incorporate into this offense. You could have gone with a more traditional wide receiver. You could have gone with an Illick Iomanner out of Stanford. I loved Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. And now that Green Bay has chosen 2 wide receivers, one in round 1 and one in round 3, we can put I would be shocked if they took another wide out. Even if it's a round 7, take a flyer on a guy, you get to a point where there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There is such thing as too many mouths to feed. We know Christian Watson's going to miss a substantial part of the 2025 season, but he will be back at some point. And so you'll have Watson at some point. And to start things out, assuming everyone's good to go, you'll have Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Bo Melton, Savion Williams now, Matthew Golden now, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgraves in a huge prove-it year for him in his 3rd season in the NFL. Josh Jacobs is your bell cow running back. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. I'm never, ever going to say that Green Bay is giving Jordan Love too many weapons. You will never hear me utter those words out of my mouth. It will never, ever happen. We were waiting for Green Bay to get more aggressive this offseason, add in the wide receiver room, and it's not a knock on who's in that room. It's just you felt like Green Bay needed to add a jolt, and they've done so with 2 of their first 3 picks being wide receivers. Let's break down Savion a little bit. Why will Matt LaFleur love figuring out ways to get him involved in the offense? This is not your prototypical traditional wide receiver. If Green Bay views Savion Williams as someone they can line up on the left, he's a very, very raw talent. He's an older prospect. He's 23, I believe. So he's an older prospect, but he is a raw talent still at wide receiver. You're not going to like hearing this. Drops were a problem. The hands were an issue at times. But TCU, and it was Kendall Briles' offense for the Horned Frogs. They had a frog package in 2024 that they rolled out, that they unraveled, and Savion Williams was one of the key cogs, if not the key cog, of that frog package. They put him at quarterback at times, sparingly, but they would line him up at quarterback in a wildcat package. They put him at running back, halfback. Like, they put him in the backfield. They used toss plays, sweep plays, all sorts of things. Savion Williams there was a TCU coach who was talking about what Savion Williams is, who he will mean to whoever drafts him, and a coach described him as a horse in the wind. Like, he just takes off. He's faster than he looks. He's deceptive with his speed, with his quickness, and everyone describes him as just get the ball in his hands. drops are a problem. You're trying to get the ball to him deep down the field, expecting him to make a bunch of contested catches. Not really his forte, not really what he's known for right out of the chute. Maybe you can build up to that. But if you're someone who sees that Green Bay at its base, took a wide receiver here in round 3, and you're like, here's another guy who's going to pluck 50, 60 catches, right out of the gates, or in year 2, he's going to be a 60 reception guy. I would highly doubt that with Savion Williams, but he's a guy that you need to find ways to incorporate him, because when he does get the ball in his hands, he is absolutely electric. And I see him as someone who his frame is different. He's a tall dude, 6'4", 222 pounds. So I'm not comparing the frame. I'm comparing how you can utilize him. I almost view him as Matt LaFleur's Deebo Samuel. How San Francisco incorporated Deebo Samuel. They would line him up at running back, at true running back, and dot the I when they would have Juszczyk at fullback. They would line him up in the shotgun, and he'd be attached or Velcro to the right hip of Brock Purdy. He would be lined up at wide receiver. They'd put him in the slot. They would do everything with Deebo Samuel. Savion Williams had situations at TCU where he would get the ball as a runner, not as a wide receiver, as a runner in a goal line formation. Like they were a direct snap. They would snap it to him in a direct snap inside the red zone. You can use him in so many different ways. He will be a project. He's a very raw talent. But when you watch, he was a dude I broke down as a potential possibility for Green Bay because, if we're being honest, while I looked at Golden, I looked at Tedero McMillan, I looked at Emeka Ibuka heavily, I still wasn't convinced Green Bay would finally take a wide receiver in round 1. And because of that, I looked at a ton of these guys in round 2, round 3, round 4, like a Savion Williams, Torrey Horton, Alec Iomanner, both wide receivers from Iowa State that went earlier on Friday night. And so when you see Savion Williams, it's fun. It's just fun to watch. And I don't think he's going to be a guy as a rookie that he's not going to be a guy that's out there every snap. He's not. I'd be stunned if he outsnaps Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Matthew Golden, any of those guys. But every single week, you're going to want to put the ball in his hands in some form or fashion, whether it's 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. I see him as a guy that will thrive early in his career. Like Green Bay just wants to get him in. One of these draft phrases with a prospect that's often used, that was used for Savion Williams, was untapped potential. Everyone's saying there's so much untapped potential. How high can he fly? We don't know. He needs to get into the right spot, though. And I think with Matt LaFleur and really his willingness and his constant focus on evolving the offense, never sticking with the status quo, never settling in, never feeling satisfied with how they're running the offense in Green Bay. He wants to evolve it. He wants to constantly be creative with the Packers offense. When you talk about creative, when you talk about different, when you talk about mixing things up, Savion Williams is the perfect pick for that. I see him as a guy who have him run underneath routes early on. Like the focus should be have him run underneath routes where he can get a little separation because you just want to quickly get the ball in his hands. And again, drops were a problem. The hands were a problem. But he's a freakish athlete, saying that as a compliment. And you can use him in the backfield. I'm pumped to see how Matt LaFleur uses him. This is a pick that he did need to go to the right situation. If he gets drafted to a team that's like, man, we see all this potential, but it's, Joe Schmo running the show as head coach, and you have a vanilla offensive coordinator who's like, let's just try to beat this into the ground and make him a true wide receiver. I don't think it would have worked. You have to embrace who Savion Williams is as a prospect, really appreciate it to get the best out of him. And if from day one, Green Bay won't do this, but if from day one Green Bay was like, we are hell-bent on lining him up far left, making sure he's a wide receiver, getting the route running better, expanding the route tree, making sure the drops go away, or at least they're heavily minimized, that's the wrong way to approach things with Savion Williams. Make it fun. Make the defense guess. Make them guess again. Put him in the backfield. Jet motion. Orbit motion. Send him behind Jordan Love in motion. Get the ball into his hands. We've seen Green Bay use Tucker Kraft as a guy who has come in motion on those 4th and 1s and taken the snap from under center, right? And dive forward for a yard. Here's your new guy that can do that. He's not a tight end, gadget player, wide receiver, Savion Williams. Line him up, direct snap, boom. Direct snap if you want him at halfback. Put him under center in the shotgun, 4th and 1. You need him to plow forward for a yard. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and he is a freakishly athletic guy. Stoked about the pick because of where he landed. Obviously, this is a Packers channel, but I do believe he's a prospect that needed to go to the right place, needed to go somewhere where there weren't going to be, strict parameters or guidelines on how you're going to use them. You have to have a creative mind running the show at the controls when you take Savion Williams. Bryles was that for TCU's offense. It was up-tempo, rapid fire. Savion Williams was a big part of it, and that frog package. And, again, you'll see, if you don't know anything about him, you'll see that he's labeled as a wide receiver. He's a lot more than that. He's way more of a gadget player. And very, 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 I can't say enough. I'm so excited to see how LaFleur uses him, even as a rookie. He's a guy that, there will be games as a rookie where he has no catches in a game, 1 target, 2 targets, but maybe he has 3 rushes for 28 yards. It's not going to be, hey, this guy has such a high floor that he's going to be a 3-catch for 40-yard guy every single week. I don't think that's going to be the case, especially right out of the chute, and especially with all the other weapons Green Bay has on offense. This is like, I love Jayden Reed. This is like a bigger Jayden Reed that's even more versatile, which is hard to wrap your mind around because Jayden Reed at Michigan State played slot very well, played on the outside very well. We've seen Green Bay use him, orbit motion, pre-snap motion. Savion Williams was the staple of that for the TCU offense. Super pumped to see how he's used even as a rookie. Again, not a guy that every week is going to get a ton of targets, a ton of catches, but a guy that every week you got to at least get him a couple touches. Yeah, at least a couple of touches every week. And as he develops, he will be the thorn in the side for defenses that are preparing for Green Bay. You have the 4.29 speed with Matthew Golden. You have all the speed along with the length from Christian Watson. You have the reliability of Romeo Doubs. You have Jayden Reed, who's a firecracker. You have Dontavian Wicks, who hopefully takes his game to another level this year. You have Tucker Kraft, who's an ascending tight end. Oh, yeah, now you have Savion Williams. Like, defenses are going to be like, we can't forget about this guy because he's the joker up the sleeve. He is the joker up the sleeve for Matt LaFleur. And to me, Matthew Golden was a pick for the Packers in their offense. Matthew Golden was a pick for the whole team. Like, we need to try to get an alpha and a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Maybe it still exists on the roster. I have my doubts about that. Clearly, Green Bay does that, and that's not a shot at anyone currently playing wide receiver for Green Bay. Number 2s at wide receiver in the NFL make a fine living and have tremendous careers too, right? But they went out and drafted Matthew Golden for a reason. That was to elevate the wide receiver room, it was a move made for the Packers. I look at this pick of Savion Williams, and I'm like, that's a move made for Matt LaFleur. Here is another toy, a true gadget player in this offense. Have fun with it. Cut it loose. Cut Savion Williams loose. Use him in a variety of ways. Keep the defense guessing. He is a guy that when he's out, he's not going to be a guy that's out there for 90, 80, 70% of the snaps, I don't think, on a weekly basis as a rookie. But when he is out there, you can bet your ass an opposing defensive coordinator is going to be like, damn it, keep tabs on this guy because we don't know what the hell they have planned for him. And for that, I love the pick. Savion Williams out of TCU to the Packers in the 3rd round. Eventful first 2 days. Who had Green Bay taken 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds? I think we all wanted one. We all thought one was in the cards. And they broke the streak. They took one in the first round for the first time since 2002, Matthew Golden. And now they double up with Savion Williams. But again, he is so much more than just a wide receiver. It'd be unfair. It'd be a disservice to Savion Williams to just label him as a wide receiver and expect that at its base. So this is a true pick for Matt LaFleur to explore and run wild with. It is Mitch. I am on YouTube. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think of the Packers draft so far. Always appreciate all the support. We'll see you soon. Tomorrow, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have more content, more videos coming out.